Good evening, good evening, good evening, my followers. Welcome back to the Gregory Wright Show. This video is going to be about Tim Walz, Governor Tim Walz for the state of Minnesota. It's been recently revealed to the American public that there has been $9+ billion, billions with a B, billion-dollar fraud that took place in his state among mostly Somali migrants that came from Somalia in Minneapolis. Okay, there's allegations of fraudulent daycare centers, transportation companies, and therapy or some type of medical or psychological services taking place, getting paid for it, but not actually delivering the services. And so that type of $9 billion fraud is the backdrop of the news that took place over the last 24 hours. In the last 24 hours, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz announced on January 4th, 2026, that was yesterday, that he would not seek re-election for a third term, citing a growing scandal involving widespread fraud in the state social services program, particularly in Medicaid and child care initiatives, as the primary reason for his decision. It happened under his watch. I would step down now if I was him, if I had a suitable replacement, which would be the lieutenant governor of Minnesota. But he indicated that the ongoing investigations and criticism surrounding these issues would prevent him from fully focusing on a reelection campaign, and acknowledged that the fraud allegations had significantly impacted his administration. The decision comes amid heightened scrutiny, including comments from President Donald Trump, and sets the stage for a potentially competitive race in the 2026 gubernatorial election. So he didn't want to be the black sheep of the Democratic Party right now. Right now, I think Mamdani and AOC are the two Democratic Party leaders nationally, despite the fact that Mamdani is only a city mayor of one of the largest cities in the United States, and so it's the capital of capitalism. The Dow Jones is on Wall Street. You have so many tunnels and bridges leading into and out of the area. It is the Empire State, and so and Mamdani, he's gotten national notoriety because he coined the term affordability. And that is a term that the remaining members of the Democratic Party, the far left part of the Democratic Party, latches onto because it served Mamdani the win to be mayor as of January 1st, 2026. And so, the bandwagon right now is affordability, even though during the Biden Harris administration, affordability was out of reach during those 4 years. And so when you have inflation hitting 9%, um, there was nothing that reached that level since President Carter. And then we revisited again, and then we have ballooning electric bill cost and gas cost and grocery price cost. That started way, 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 way back. Now, I understand President Trump has been president for about a year now, and in another couple of weeks it'll be a year. This is no doubt his economy. So I don't think that it serves President Trump well to continuously blame the Biden-Harris administration for the high inflation and the rising costs, but you have two Democratic far left radicals in AOC and Mom Donnie, and these guys are on the wrong side of every issue that you can fathom. And so let's get to a video here where Governor Walz makes his full speech on live TV earlier today.
Last several years, an organized group of criminals have sought to take advantage of this state's generosity. And even as we make progress in the fight against the fraudsters, we now see an organized group of political actors seeking to take advantage of a crisis. I don't want to mince words here. Donald Trump and his allies in Washington and in St. Paul and online want to make our state a colder, meaner place. They want to poison our people against each other by attacking our neighbors. And ultimately, they want to take away much of what makes Minnesota the best place in the country to raise a family. They've already begun trying to withhold funds that were meant to help families afford child care, and they have no intention of stopping there. Make no mistake, we should be concerned about fraud in our state government. We cannot effectively deliver programs and services if we can't earn the public's trust. That's why over the past few years, we've made systemic changes in the way we do business. We've gone to the legislature time and time again to get more tools to combat fraud. We've fired people who weren't doing their jobs. We've seen people go to jail for stealing from our state. We've cut off whole streams of funding in partnership with the federal government where we saw widespread criminal activity. We've put new locks on the doors of our remaining programs, and we've hired a new head of program integrity to make sure that those locks can't be broken. All across this state, Minnesotans are hard at work on this problem. Advocates, administrators, investigators are on the front lines defending the integrity of our state's programs, and I want to give a very heartfelt thank you to all of them. There is more to do. A single taxpayer dollar wasted on fraud should be intolerable. And while there's a role to play for everyone, from the legislature to prosecutors to insurance companies to local and county government, the buck does stop with me. My administration has been taking fast, decisive action to solve this crisis. We'll win the fight against the fraudsters. But the political gamesmanship we're seeing from Republicans is only making that fight harder. We've got Republicans here in the state legislature playing hide and seek with potential whistleblowers. We've got conspiracy theorist right-wing YouTubers breaking into our daycares, demanding access to our children. We've got the President of the United States demonizing our Somali neighbors and wrongfully confiscating funds that Minnesotans rely on. It's disgusting and it's dangerous. Republicans are playing politics with the future of this state. It's shameful. And I've said it before, and I will continue to say it. We welcome ideas from anyone, in any party, from any walk of life, who wants to help us continue to stay ahead of these criminals. And we welcome the involvement of the federal government. I am grateful to the career professionals at the U.S. Attorney's Office and the FBI who have been helping us fight this fight for years. But I cannot abide the actions of the political leadership in Washington. These opportunists are willing to hurt our people to score cheap points. They and their allies have no intention of helping us solve this problem, and every intention of trying to profit off of it. Which brings me to this. 2026 is an election year. Election years have a way of ramping up the politics at a time when we simply can't afford more of that in Minnesota. In September, I announced that I would seek a historic third term as Minnesota's governor, and I have every confidence that if I gave it my all, we would win the race. But as I reflect on this moment with my family and my team over the holidays, I came to the conclusion that I can't give a political campaign my all. Every minute that I spend defending my own political interest would be a minute I can't spend defending the people of Minnesota against the criminals who prey on our generosity and the cynics who want to prey on our differences. So I've decided to step out of this race, and I'll let others worry about the election while I focus on the work that's in front of me for the next year. I'm passing on this race with zero sadness and zero regret. I did not run for this job to have the job. I ran for the job to do the job. Minnesota faces enormous challenges this year, and I refuse to spend a single minute doing anything other than rising to meet this moment. Minnesota has always come first and always will. That's what I believe servant leadership demands of me. As an optimist, I'll hold out some hope that my friends on the other side of the aisle will consider what servant leadership demands of them in the moment. We can work together to combat against the criminals. We can work together to rebuild the public's trust and make our state stronger. But make no mistake about it, if Republicans continue down the path of abusing power, smearing entire communities, and running their own fraudulent game at the expense of Minnesotans, I will fight back with everything that I have. I am absolutely confident a Democratic and a DFLer will hold this seat come November. I'm confident that I'll find ways to contribute to the state that I love long after next January. But there'll be time to worry about all that later. Today, I'm proud of the work we've done to make Minnesota America's best place to live and raise kids. From our new paid leave policy to our child tax credit to our school lunch programs feeding every single child. And I'm doubly proud of the incredible team we put together to make this vision a reality. I want to take a moment to thank every member of my staff, to every single state employee who has been part of this fight. Now more than ever, I need you on the job. I need you to help work together to tackle the important work in front of us. And most of all, I want Minnesotans to know how grateful I am for the opportunity to serve this state, for the privilege that I have been given to serve in this office. I'm on the job. I'm focused on making sure that we stay America's best place to live and raise kids. No one will take that away from us. I'm proud of the way we treat our neighbors. I'm proud of the way that we welcome people to this state. I'm proud of the way that we innovate. And I'm proud of the way that we are optimists for the future. No one's taking this away from us. Not the fraudsters. Certainly not this president. Not on my watch. Tomorrow, I'll be back with you. I'll give you an update on America's best paid family medical leave program that is now a week into it. And at that time, I'll take all your questions. Thank you all.
During this, Governor.
Yo, he didn't even take questions. He didn't take questions. It was just a one-sided fight. You got two fighters in the ring. One one person in the ring is laid hog-tied on the deck, on the canvas, and then the other guy is running free and bends down, keep punching the guy in the mouth, right? That's what he did. He just delivered I don't know, maybe some jabs to the president, his administration. It's all bullshit. I mean, the American public can see through this. Tim Walz got taken down by a 23-year-old YouTuber named Nick Shirley. I don't say his name too much. He's getting enough popularity. No haters over here. I love what he did. I love the way he defended himself. But he just took down a governor seeking an historic third term. I guess it's different by state from state to state because I thought two 4-year terms was the limit, much like the presidency. But I guess the rules vary from state to state. I don't know. I probably got to do a separate story on that. But here's my takeaways from the speech, right? My takeaways from the speech. He he mentioned that the buck stopped. The fraud and the scrutiny for the fraud and all that other kind of stuff. He said that the buck stops with him. Okay, so he never said that he was sorry to the Minnesotan taxpayers. He never said that I take full responsibility of what happened. People who don't know what the term "the buck stops here," they're just gonna be like, okay, well, whatever. Like the buck stops here. But for those who truly know what that term means, is hey, I take full responsibility, the humility, and the embarrassment that comes along with being a governor. Do you know how important it is to be the governor of a state like Minnesota with so many natural resources? So more than other states, so many natural resources. It takes a lot of work to become a governor of a state because it's a microcosm of being the president of your own sovereign land, right? Much like the governor, much like the president, governor is basically the president of his state. Then the lieutenant governor is like the vice president. I'm just trying to give you some context of how important governorship is, especially if you're a governor of a state with many, 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 many resources like Minnesota. So if you had to create a microcosm of the United States federal executive branch and all the branches within the federal government, you would equate a governor to a president, a lieutenant governor to vice president, and then each state has its own Congress, right? Each state that mimics U.S. Congress. So the position of governor is very, 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 very important in my eyes because your budget is billions of dollars, depending on what state you are, billions of dollars, and then there's other billions of dollars, additional billions in subsidies coming from the federal government. Multi-billion dollar organization that is representative of the average size state with the average population, and depending on what you got going on, what kind of programs you're running, right? So you got Tim Walz, you got this guy in charge of billions and billions of tens of billions of dollar budget every year. He's been in charge for nearly 8 years. This fraud has taken place most likely before he arrived as governor, but allegedly it seems like the fraud got worse under his almost 8 years as governor of the state of Minnesota. And then here's the thing, instead of taking responsibility and saying, hey, maybe I should step down or this, that, and the other, and I was wrong, I'm sorry, Minnesotans, for having Somali migrants defraud you of not all of them, some of them, most of them. Most of them that got caught were from Somali descent. And so there's no apologies to the Minnesotan taxpayer for getting $9+ billion fraudulently used on non-American interests. What does he do? He blames Trump. He blames Trump for fanning the flames of the fraud. And if President Trump did something to this magnitude, or something like this of this magnitude, happen under his watch, the news cycle would go on for months and months and months and months and months about this very thing. President Trump's political opponents would go on this for months and months and months and months and months. So now that the shoe is on the other foot, he wants to complain. The spotlight is on what you were doing in the dark, sir. You can finger point, you could deflect, you could sidestep, but the fact of the matter is that $9+ billion in federal and taxpayers across the nation, but specifically taxpayers in Minnesota, got defrauded by mostly by Somali immigrants under your watch. There's nothing that you could say that could dispute the fact. That's the reason why you're dropping your third term election bid for the state of Minnesota. And he's talking about he needs more tools to combat fraud, aka his state legislature should pass additional millions, if not billions, to combat fraud, a problem that his administration turned a blind eye to allegedly. Now can't manage the funds that within his Minnesotan budget, couldn't manage the funds, subsidies that came from the federal government, can't manage social programs, Medicaid programs, the funding to that. And now it's saying that he want more tools to combat fraud. Well, how about this, Governor Walz? How about this? How about using common sense? How about using your noodle? How about using your brain? How about listening to the whistleblowers that came to you in 2017, 2018, or whatever it is before 2020? What about all them damn whistleblowers that allegedly you silenced? You didn't think it was going to get out. You just didn't. You didn't think it was going to get out. But yet you can't manage the money that you were allocated. You mismanaged it by the tune of $9+ billion over your tenure, and you asking for more tools, aka more money to combat the fraud that you failed to combat by using common sense and checks and balances that are already built into your processes. Who do you think you fooling, man? You want to spend more money to fix a problem that you created or could have solved a long time ago. He said, this joker said, I ran for the job to do the job. You didn't do your job, dude. Ain't no mayor worth a grain, or there ain't no governor, excuse me. Ain't no governor worth a grain of salt is gonna sit there and say, I ran for the job to do the job. You ain't doing the job, baby. Losing that type of money, $100,000 is even too much. What are you talking about? I need you on the job. Well, apparently you need other people to do your job. You need other people to do your job. You're telling other people you're the leader of the state. You're the president of your own sovereign state, basically. And you're saying, I need you on the job to do what? Your job? What are they going to do? Swallow your narrative and help you push back on justified criticism of your incompetence? What are we talking about here? You should be on the job. And the people that you hired in your cabinets and your allies and all those people that you surrounded yourself with the lieutenant governor and the state of Minnesota legislature and your allies within that body, they should be helping you be on the job because ultimately you are responsible for this mess, which is the reason why you're not running for reelection. You don't stand a chance. All the scrutiny and everything that's against you, you can't weather that. You got a sailboat when you need a submarine. Okay, so spare me with that. And the last thing I'll say is you did not say you were sorry. And this is the third time I'm saying this. You did not say you were sorry to the Minnesotan taxpayers that got defrauded by $9+ billion over your freaking almost 8 years as governor. And then you have the nerve to run for a third term. And then you have enough nerve to show the world that your Trump derangement syndrome is so strong that like people could see through the smoke and mirrors. Your TDS is that strong that it's blinding you from being like, yo, you know what? I'm a step away, period. I should even step down now. You should step down now, bro. Look, I I don't have a job as important as Tim Walz, but I'm here to tell you, if I misplaced or unaccounted for $1,500 in the job that I have now, I'm out, baby. There ain't no saving my ass. If I was in charge of a process and I misplaced $1,500, forget $15,000, forget $150,000, forget $1.5 million, forget all that. $1,500. If I misplaced that under my purview, I would have been fired. I would have been got fired, boy. You already know that. And so for Tim Walz to come out and chomp the range syndrome, yo, that dude is bugged out, man. He has no right to be governor. I don't know what you guys are doing up in Minnesota, but my man Mike Lindell, who's a Republican, one of the Republican candidates to become the governor of Minnesota, you need to lean freaking Republican. Common sense. You need to lean common sense, but you need to vote in people who have common sense and not going to um, bankrupt the state, even if it was by accident, even if it was for real, even if it was whatever, even if he meant it, didn't mean it, whatever, lack of oversight, he's still responsible. He's the governor. All right. Let me know what you think in the comments below. But yo, I'm telling you, man, this dude is a loser, and I think that his political career should be over real soon, including like resigning now and stepping down. I'm Greg Wright for the Gregory Wright Show, and if you like what you heard, please like, share, subscribe to this video, share the video so that we can shock the YouTube algorithm and bring this content to people who otherwise would not see it. All right, so I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for tuning in.